Hi everyone, Scooch the Knee Smooch Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this ULYSSA album, 100% Prod IV. This is a brand new LP of music from Lucy, aka vocalist and songwriter Cooper B. Handy, Massachusetts native, who you may just be hearing about now through this review or a recent GQ feature. But Handy is actually a decade deep into a pretty outsider music career. From the sound of this LP, you wouldn't think it, cause it still comes across as like a freshly minted music project from someone who is maybe still working out the kinks and is running purely off of raw passion and emotion, which is an interesting state to remain in after such a long time. But given that the title of Handy's last solo LP was The Music Industry is Poisonous, I'm not exactly surprised to find this guy hasn't been progressively giving his sound a sleeker and more commercial appeal over the years, or even going for a conventional title on this album, as the one he's gone with here just simply seems to signify that IV did all the beats for the record, who definitely deserves a special shout out on this thing, not just because their profile seems even more obscure than Lucy's does, but the beats really do guide the vibe of this record and give it a charm that separates it from anything Lucy or Cooper has done up until this point. Now, it's not the most vibrant or punchy set of instrumentals you're going to hear this year, but there is an amateurish appeal to how muddy and warm and thin they come across. Plus, I don't think you reach this level of sonic consistency across 12 instrumentals unless there's some level of intent there. Some of the lo-fi sloppiness I read as a little calculated too, especially when you get these strategically placed samples of a low battery fire alarm beep that of course just works into the instrumental perfectly. But yeah, despite some of these elements coming across as low skill on the surface, there's actually quite a bit of skill going into some of these tunes, whether it be through the effects thrown into the mix or the creative use of samples, as well as the melancholy and frankly very pretty and cute keyboard parts. And even if all of these tracks are squeezed into a somewhat limited fidelity, everything within that spectrum is balanced pretty well, whether you're talking about the serene piano chords on Clock, the messy but endearing harmonica bits on Tank as well as Harm, or the dreamy Postal Service-esque synth loops on Substance. And not to mention all the plucky acoustic guitar bits and passages. Lucy and Ivy really strike a high-functioning creative marriage on this record that stylistically is a little hard to play sometimes too, with all of the heavy 808s and southern hip-hop rhythms as well as quaint electronics and hooky song structures. There's an obvious way to explain it or compare it, but I don't necessarily want to do the album a disservice through that because, you know, by likening it to something like emo trap, for example, I think some people might instantly go to an artist like Juice WRLD. But what Ivy and Lucy are doing on this record doesn't really hit quite like that vibe-wise, nor is it trying to be as commercially appealing as many artists are who are operating in that lane. Know that a lot of these tracks feel like a combination of obscure internet rap, bedroom pop, emo, art pop, and some indie-tronica too. The song What She Said reads like 2000s era Animal Collective trying to make an emo trap cut. Meanwhile, Clock sounds like the drums in 2011 trying to make a cloud rap banger. And all of these influences are put together in such a way where it's hard to tell where one ends and another begins, which again just kind of adds to the record's mystique and uniqueness. Now, the writing on the LP overall is not the most ambitious you're going to hear. The structures are kind of short. A majority of these tracks just stretch out to above 2 minutes, and all of them add up to a runtime that is just under 30. The verses are pretty short much of the time. The endings aren't super strong. There's not like any bridges. It's clear Lucy and Ivy are putting a majority of the focus on these tracks into setting a tone with a short intro and also like really hitting us with a big anthemic refrain or chorus. Much of the time, the limited amount of musical ideas we're getting on these tracks are very good, super sticky, and the heart showcased in performing them sells them even harder. Whether it's Make My Bed or Oil Change or Anniversary, Harm or In the Will, there are multiple songs on this thing where even before it's over, and again, these tracks are not long, I'm just finding myself singing the hooks. I'm gonna make my bed, anniversary. So there are a lot of great and solid original ideas on this LP, as well as an ingenious interpolation of God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen on Substance that yeah, somehow works out really well in the song's favor. The lyrics on this LP are often very personal, contemplative, inspiring, positive. It's a record that I don't necessarily love, but it is very much punching above its weight, because it is rare that you come across a record that does very much have this outsider appeal, is so blatantly amateurish and lo-fi, but also so incredibly well performed and catchy through and through, which is why I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this one. Transition. Have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Lucy, Ivy, forever.